The former Oklahoma County Commissioner was not in a wheelchair today. He was during his trial on 15 counts of extortion and mail fraud back in November. Today, Richardson walked into federal court with the aid of a cane only. Richardson came to court today to ask Judge Luther Eubanks to reduce his prison term. Eubanks had sentenced him to 7.5 years in prison. Richardson wants that sentence reduced for medical reasons. He has arthritis and lower spine problems. He took the stand himself today and told the judge he is in constant pain and prison doctors are not giving him the medication needed to reduce it. Richardson's own physician testified he believes it's criminal to keep his patient in prison without proper medication for his pain. But U.S. Attorney Charlie Waters called Richardson's prison doctor to the stand. Dr. Kathy Marie Saunders testified Richardson is getting the treatment he requires and that the Fort Worth Federal Institution where Richardson is being held is designed specifically for chronically ill inmates. She says that each time Richardson has complained of pain, he has received medication, but nothing much stronger than aspirin. She did admit Richardson's x-rays shows that he must be in moderate pain. However, a drug prescribed for the condition by Dr. Saunders ran out and wouldn't be available again for 2 months. Eubanks admitted that Richardson probably didn't get the medication he needed at first, but he is getting it now, so he said he would not reduce his sentence on those grounds. But Eubanks did decide to reduce Richardson's sentence from 7.5 to 5 years, but not for medical reasons. He's doing it because he said he sentenced Richardson to 3 times as many years as he did other commissioners. However, he kept the 5-year figure because he said Richardson stole twice as much money as some of the other commissioners. Ted Brown, Action 4 at the federal courthouse.
Which guarantee that every person should have
1,000 Iranians who have Iran feels about the outside world today. And so, Iran has turned its back on the outside world.
There are some very special swimmers in there. Remember what it was like when you were a youngster and you called, "Hey mommy, hey daddy, look at me," and they'd watch you and follow your progress and congratulate you on how well you did, and it built up your self-confidence? Well, that's what this Special Olympics is all about. And inside, youngsters are learning how to swim to really build up their self-confidence as they get ready for the Special Olympics in May.
This lady here in the blue has the whistle.
Feel in good shape?
Yeah.
You gonna be ready for the state meet?
I expect so, yes.
How many more times do you get to swim before the state meet?
5.
5 more times?
Practice, yeah.
5 more practices?
Yeah.
That's good. You really looking forward to it?
Yeah. I love it.
This is someone I want you to meet. This is Mark Porter. He's 15.5 years old. He's a student at Central Junior High School in Putnam. And he's getting ready for the Special Olympics, and he loves to swim. Mark's swimming coach is Terry Boswell. She volunteers, like a lot of people, to see that Special Olympics is successful.
The way I look at it is if they're out there trying, they're all winning.
What about the parents? How are they showing any changes as to how they feel about their child?
I think so. When they see their child becoming more independent and developing this confidence, they realize that the child is growing, and that's a big relief to them.
It's important that these youngsters build self-confidence. They have a long life ahead of them. And often parents worry that they may not be able to care for themselves. But we find that children that are going to be children forever can learn skills and can develop self-confidence and can lead lives that are productive for them. And we should care for them and help them build their self-confidence. There was a great teacher that walked on this earth. I don't have to mention his name to you, but he was in the midst of teaching to adults, and he interrupted that teaching, and he said, "Let the children come to me." Children forever need our attention, and Special Olympics is one way to give them success. I'm Gary Essex, Action 4 at Bethany, Nazarene for the Special Olympics.
The owner of Sooner Barbecue at 36 and Southwestern is extremely interested in cancer research. And there are a lot of people extremely interested in his barbecue. How do the two go hand in hand? Well, one day of each year, Cecil Clay, the owner, donates all the proceeds to the Oklahoma Pediatric Cancer Research Association.
Some people might think it's just a profit. Tonight, when we close up, all whatever's on the cash register reading, we'll take and tape it off and write them a check for that. But the big bonus is, see all these girls around here working, they donate all their tips today too, so that adds into the kitty, and they're actually a big part of it also.
For the past 10 years, Clay and his employees have done this good deed. He says it all started when one of his Little League baseball players contracted cancer. The Country Gal restaurant is also involved in the fundraiser. Ben McCain, Action 4 at Sooner Barbecue in Oklahoma City.
The defendant, Michael Newberry, appeared back in court during the wee hours this morning. Shortly before 4 o'clock, District Judge Ray Wall was notified the jury had reached a verdict.
Has the jury arrived at a verdict? Yes, we have, Your Honor. Hand the verdict to the bailiff, please. State of Oklahoma versus Michael Newberry. We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn to try the issues in the above entitled cause, do upon our oaths find the defendant Michael Newberry guilty of the offense of murder in the first degree.
The courtroom sat in silence as the judge read the verdict. Newberry showed no outward reaction or emotions. The jury was then dismissed and instructed to return at 1 o'clock this afternoon for the second stage of the trial. At that time, they will decide what sentence will be imposed on the defendant. District Attorney James Langley is glad the case is over.
Well, I feel relieved more than anything. It's been a long, grueling trial, called quite a few witnesses and a lot of exhibits. I just feeling tired is the most prevalent emotion I have right now.
Were you surprised with the verdict being that a lot of the evidence was circumstantial?
I'm surprised in a sense, yes, but in another sense, no. I can't ever predict a jury verdict and never know what they'll return, so I'm pleased in that sense and surprised in that sense, yes.
Michael Newberry did not leave the courtroom a free man this morning. In a few hours, he'll hear the rest of the jury's decision. Carol Lambert, Action 4 at the Logan County Courthouse. It's been 6 months since the body of Janella K. Garrett was found lying in a ravine just outside Marshall and Logan County. The 15-year-old girl had been badly beaten, raped, and mutilated. Investigators say she died between 9 and 11 o'clock on the evening of August the 27th. Funeral services for the young teenager were held the following Monday. The horrible crime was a shock to the residents in the small town of 400. This Oklahoma City man was the last person known to have seen Janella alive. Michael Newberry had been at the John Nair residence where Janella was babysitting that fatal night, installing cable TV. Several days later, Michael Newberry was arrested on first-degree murder charges and bound over for trial. After one mistrial and over 200 days of waiting, the trial finally began a week ago yesterday. The defendant's future rested in the hands of this jury. On Wednesday, the state began calling its lengthy list of witnesses. One of the first people called to testify was John Nair, father of the children Janella was babysitting. Though his 4-year-old daughter was not allowed to testify, Nair said she told him the next day Janella left with the TV man and that she wanted to go with him, but was told there wasn't room. Yesterday, the defendant took the stand to testify on his own behalf. Remaining cool and calm throughout his testimony, Newberry told his story. He said after he left the Nair residence, he made 2 stops along the way and arrived in Oklahoma City shortly after 11 o'clock. After closing arguments, the jury began its deliberation at 10 minutes to 4 yesterday afternoon. 12 hours later, they returned to the courtroom with a verdict.
State of Oklahoma versus Michael Newberry. We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn to try the issues in the above entitled cause, do upon our oaths find the defendant Michael Newberry guilty of the offense of murder in the first degree.
At 1 o'clock today, the jury went into the second stage of the trial. At 4:45, they came out of deliberation with the defendant's sentence, life in prison. Carol Lambert, Action 4 at the Logan County Courthouse.
This buzzer signals the start of a new day of classes. It also means the start of a new day of battles against a building not made for handicapped people. It begins here in the halls. They're too narrow. Those on foot have to dodge those in wheelchairs. Things aren't any better on the outside. This inclining ramp connects the classroom buildings. It presents no challenge to a person who can walk, but for someone confined in a wheelchair, it's a long, strenuous journey. And as a last insult, the doorway at the end of the ramp has a high threshold, resisting the hard-earned entrance.
How you feeling, baby? Tired? A little bit tired?
The most alarming deficiency is in Carver's clinic. It's simply not equipped to handle the kind of emergencies found in a school for the handicapped.
I thought I had to get this child out, sit her in the counselor's office, put my first child in there to lay down until I could evaluate my third child. And by the time I got the one little girl who was passed out onto the bed, we had put the other boy in another room on a cot and this child here on the bed. And this is what we've got here. We just haven't got the facilities. We don't have the room, and this could happen, more than 3 kids in one day.
The president of the Oklahoma City School Board says he's well aware of their problems and wanted to help the children get a new school with money from the school bond issue. But it was defeated, so he's not sure what will happen.
I, for one, am a real supporter of schools for the handicapped, but it really hurts me, and I know that it hurts the other board members to see these kids in this dilapidated program that we have at Carver. They need a new building, and I want to see them have a new building. I don't know what we will do. We have some excess property that as soon as we can sell it, well, we can use that money for it.
So in the meantime, students here at Carver will have to do without. But with the school board's backing, they hope to board this bus one day to be taken to a new facility, one designed especially for their needs. Sherry Sellers, Action 4 at the Carver Center. Sellers, Action 4 at the Carver Center.
Oftentimes, Oklahoma City police officers must use force to arrest or control a prisoner. In the case of Officer John Clark, he was accused of beating a suspect with a flashlight during a scuffle. The man later died, and Clark was acquitted of second-degree murder charges. Since then, officers have been especially warned not to use their flashlights as a defensive weapon. And now a use of force board has been started. Police administrators will use the board to determine if an officer did use too much force to apprehend someone. And the board may be used to bring about some changes in police training.
Ultimately, if we have breakdowns at some point in our training that are not preparing officers to deal with physical violence properly, then it will give us an opportunity to provide a better training program for them. And ultimately, it would affect positively the citizens of a community, and that we would not be generally overreacting at the time that an arrest was made.
So far, reaction to the new review board has been calm. If the board does decide that an officer used too much force, it will recommend to the police chief action against that officer. An assistant police chief and 2 division commanders will make up the board, namely because they are veteran officers who probably at one time or another have been in a situation that most officers will face. Ed Stewart, Action 4, Oklahoma City.
Big bucks are made in the oil fields, and big bucks are lost. Sometimes investors don't even have a chance of making any money. That's when they've gotten in with a swindler. When this happens, it hurts the reputable oil men. That's according to Dorsey Buttram, president of Buttram Energies.
Our reputation is hurt because they take this money in the name of the oil business and then go either spend it or sometimes actually waste it.
And it's the honest people that are suffering.
Yes, the people who come from outside of the state, outside of the business, hoping to make an honest dollar. And it's this kind of people that are disappearing from our business. The real money is still here.
Buttram says the rig count in Oklahoma is down from an all-time high of 4,600 rigs to about 4,100. The rigs that are going down now are what he calls junk rigs. These were the rigs that were used during the high demand period. Now Buttram says we're getting down to the solid core of the oil industry. Ben McCain, Action 4, Oklahoma City.
Operating the phone company takes more money than any other company in the world. They get it from us, their customers.
Yes, sir.
But now that AT&T is breaking down into individual companies, newly separated satellite companies like Southwestern Bell are going to have to raise the rates to make up for the loss of the long-distance business.
I would say that on a state average that the cost for local service on a monthly basis costs us somewhere in the vicinity of $16, $17 per line. In Oklahoma City, the rate is $6.20. So you can see there's quite an adjustment there to be made up. Now, I doubt this will take place in one fell swoop.
It isn't just the breakup of Ma Bell, it's the government's drive to deregulate just about everything. Oklahoma Congressman Glenn English is the chairman of the subcommittee that looks over the shoulder of the FCC, who in turn regulates the phone companies.
The question that we're looking at here is what happens where there's no competition.
what benefit are those people going to derive, if any? And how can the FCC step in where there's no competition and make sure that those people aren't taken advantage of?
It's all very complicated. Ma Bell is so big, nobody, probably not even Bell, knows where all the money is or where it's going. And it's really not necessary for us to understand it. All we need to know is that rates could double within 2 years, and there's nothing we can do about it. Ted Brown, Action 4 downtown.
This is Loretta Mann.
March 27th, mid-afternoon. A car carrying 3 teenagers tries to beat a freight train at a rail crossing in Tulsa. It doesn't, and 3 teens lose their lives. The problem has plagued railroads, it seems, since the time of Casey Jones. People, impatient to wait, try getting across the tracks before the train blocks the street. Engineers who control the speed of the train can only sit by helplessly, blow their whistle, and pray that drivers will obey the flashing red lights and lowered crossbars. Sometimes they do. Oftentimes, they don't.
It's a empty feeling. You know that it's a very unsafe move on the part of the driver of the automobile, but you have a helpless feeling and you just hope they make it. But sometimes you've got a little thought for them, and sometimes you don't have time for thought for them.
Sometimes drivers do it for kicks. The result, an angry engineer. The Iron Horse travels anywhere from 20 to 50 miles per hour through the metro area. But no matter the speed, when a vehicle and a train collide, the vehicle almost always loses. Drivers do too, sometimes with their lives. Most solutions to this problem, which would involve keeping the freights and the traffic moving around each other, are quite expensive. But the railroad hopes that a little patience and the fear of being run over by 150 tons of railroad engine will keep car drivers alive and railroad engineers ulcer-free. Tony Stizza, Action 4, on the rails in Oklahoma City.
You may think this is 1982. Well, it is, and it isn't. It's the year 2525, the year of the dog, for Oklahomans who originally came from Laos and Cambodia. If these people were back in their native land, they'd be worshiping at a Buddhist pagoda. Since there are no pagodas in Oklahoma City, they may do with a party featuring traditional food, traditional costumes, and traditional dances. To everyone in Oklahoma City, Happy Easter and Happy New Year. Bill Ross, Action 4, Northwest Oklahoma City.
Two weeks ago, Oklahoma City school patrons voted on a $32 million bond proposal. The money would have been spent fixing up school facilities, but voters turned down that proposal by a large margin.
School administrators are jittery about tomorrow's election, despite the fact that a school millage election has never been turned down here in Oklahoma City. They're worried that some outspoken opponents who helped to defeat a bond proposal a couple of weeks ago will strike again.
Well, what I'm concerned about is people won't understand the distinction between that election, where we were very definitely asking for an increase in taxes, and this one, which would not entail an increase in taxes and simply authorization to continue levying for our operating budget what we have been doing every year that can be remembered in the Oklahoma City school.
Because I didn't
Tilly Kernan worked to defeat the latest bond issue. She's upset with school officials for not including the millage question with that bond proposal.
Is that I do not like to have my vote manipulated and maneuvered. And this time, I think the school board and the administrators have attempted to do that by running two elections 2 weeks apart. So for that reason and that reason only, I probably would go out tomorrow and vote no, no, no on all three of the questions.
Polls will be open in all city schools tomorrow from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. Scott Wallace, Action 4, Northwest Oklahoma City.
How about a non-committal statement or something like that? When do you think you'll be going back to Washington?
No idea.